Welcome, everybody. We are excited to do our traditional, what we call Fireside Chat. And I have Mike here, and we were just talking about 2025. Wow, what a year it has been. Mike, for you, highlights of 2025?
Well, it was the 50th anniversary of the company, which was a big deal. And I mean, it wasn't a big deal for me, but it was a big deal for the company because it was hard to think that I had been doing this full time for 50 years. But the wrinkles on my face and the age that I am tells me that I've been doing it 50 years.
You know, it was amazing when we started 2025 and the celebration of the 50 years. We went back to the Desert Inn,
Yes.
the Marriott.
Desert Springs.
Thank you, that's it. The Marriott Desert Springs in Palm Desert, where we had been for
20 years.
20 years. Mike did events there, and it was so much fun to go back. Usually it was the Superstar Retreat.
Yes.
But we did the production retreat there, and it was a great way to kick off the 50th anniversary. Now, you know, with highlights, there always tends to be a couple of lowlights or things that you didn't plan on.
Well, we didn't plan on the slow start to the year, which was universal to the real estate industry. And it was interesting as the year progressed, people would say, it's really been doing great except for those first 2 months. So that was a low light. And a second one was, you know, they diagnosed me with cancer. And just virtually an hour ago, they gave me really good news that it's about 1 in 1 million chance that I'll get it back again. So I was excited about that, as was Sabrina. But that was not any fun. You know, I did 28 radiation treatments over the course. When did I start the radiation? Right after the retreat.
The Monday after the Superstar Retreat.
And I finished it
on September 4th.
And then we left a couple weeks later for Europe, so that was a little unusual. It was a little exhausting. You know, I'm 80 years old. I'm not 30, and I'm not 25, and I'm glad I'm not. But because then I'd have more highlights and lowlights. So.
Well, it was an interesting year for that. It was also an interesting year for the real estate market because everybody thought that interest rates would drop and that, you know, all of this would happen. And that crystal ball that everybody keeps hoping for just doesn't seem to exist anymore.
Well, it never did. It's just somebody's, you know, touching something and saying it feels like we're going to have a good year. It feels like we're going to have, but there's certain characteristics that qualify a good or bad year. Inventory, length of time on the market, the speed with which they sell, how many agents are in the market, are the agents listing or selling property, meaning working buyers, and that has changed dramatically the last few years. So I would say that the confusion in the market doesn't really tell us what's going to happen. You know, they're all saying if interest rates would get below 6%, well, half the guys and gals that do the projections are saying we're never going to see it below 6% in probably our lifetime, and mine is going to be less than yours, obviously, because of age. But then there's others that say if it gets to 5.8, 5.9, the market will explode. So watch. Do your job to the best of your ability. Follow the basic plan that you have for yourself. If you're in coaching, listen to your coach. And it doesn't matter what happens to the market. Quite honestly, you know, Sabrina, you know that we've been working together 20-some years, and I never care what's going on in the market.
Actually, you know what? That is so amazing to me because as I'm listening to you, that really is your thing.
That's one of my strengths.
It really is. You don't create the drama. Like we have competitors out there who is, the sky is falling. Now this is happening. Then that's happening. And oh my gosh, there's so many expireds or whatever it is. And you've always just...
I can hardly control what I do, much less what the world does. So I don't get involved in that kind of thinking at all.
Yeah, it's just so interesting because I think about, you know, often joke about the fact that years ago for my birthday, you gave me this button that says, "Congratulations, you have survived everything that has come your way thus far."
Yeah.
And I see that. I've kept that button. It's in the drawer in the closet at home. And every once in a while I look at that and I think how much energy we all waste in riding these highs and these lows. And then I look at you, who is always pretty steady.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Drugs. I'm just kidding. But I think it's a matter of what you put into your head. You know, I've never been a big supporter of listening to the news. In fact, I don't know when I try to catch sports once in a while for the news to see what's going on. But, it's what you put in is what comes out. So if you keep putting negative news in your head, it's going to come out in your actions and your words. I'm not a big fan of that type of thinking, so I don't do it.
It was interesting because a little while ago I had read something that talked about that and said, you're not born with negativity. Like, you don't start off thinking things are not going to work out for you. As a baby, you just assume you're going to be taken care of. You assume that tomorrow is going to be a great day because you have no reason to think otherwise. And the point of that little story was you put all of this anxiety into your mind. That's where it comes from, and from what other people say. And it was a challenge to try and get through one day with only positive things.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly difficult. So if you guys want a little thing to try over the holidays, and probably a really big test, is see one day of the holidays where everything is just perfect.
And the truth is, for most of us, everything is nearly perfect all the time. If you really think about your life and you think about your business, but Mike, I lost a listing, but you're going to get another one. Mike, I had a deal fall apart, but if you're doing your job, you'll have 2 or 3 more that will open and close. So, I look at everybody and everything and say, if this is what they're saying and doing and this is where they're going, I'm going this way. But I call that the 180-degree theory. Find out what the group is doing and do the opposite. And I've done that, and I learned that from Gunther Klaus and Mike Vance, in my 20s, so over 60 years ago. You wrote down back to Italy and think big in Paris. What were you referring to?
Well, after your radiation treatments.
Oh, that's right.
We did. We went back to Italy, which was amazing to me because, one of the things that I look at Mike, and I think the rest of us, like all of us, do this as well. Here is a man who actually practices what he teaches us. And he's that living example of, you can do this. Because literally it was 1 month after you finished your radiation. And by the way, the doctor said to us on that last treatment, now his body is the most full of radiation that it will ever be. Which, yeah, I'm not quite sure how I missed that one as we set up all of these things. But we went to Paris for Think Big.
We went to New York for 2 days to help me acclimate to the 9 hours of time change. It's 3 hours down. Then we flew to London, which we enjoy, and spent a day, which killed another hour of time change. Then we flew private to Paris and spent a week with the Think Big group in Paris, which was a lot of fun. We've been there several times. Then we went down south to do an event for our 2 great partners in Italy. And then we flew back to London, and then we flew from London to Miami, and then we drove from Miami to Boca Raton and did a 3-day event. And then at the end of the 3-day event, we flew back to Vegas, and I passed out. I'm just kidding.
Well, I think I passed out somewhere after Paris. It was a lot of stuff happening.
But don't you love it? People say to me all the time, you guys are so lucky, you get to travel all the time. Travel all the time, see how lucky you are.
Yeah, it's not quite as easy as people think it is.
Now, we're lucky because,
We
you
are.
know,
We're very fortunate.
we get to fly private in most cases. We stay in beautiful resorts. We're with great people like yourselves that are watching. So we're very fortunate. But we went to Italy and we went to Paris and then we came to Florida. So you wrote down, what about AI?
Well, I'm curious because right now the conversation everywhere is AI.
Yeah.
Has that just become the next magic answer?
Well, you know, there's a lot of abbreviations that go with AI. I put together my abbreviation, adult idiots, because they're relying on something that is manufactured to save everything that they're doing. What I really get a kick out of is how these people say, you know, in 5 years we'll lose, 25% of the work jobs that are available that'll be done by AI. And, I look at AI this way. There's always going to be something new that is going to help business, industry, and individuals perform. And then as soon as that one is accepted, there's something new. Look at the real estate business per se. We've gone through probably 15, 20 phases in the last 25, 30 years. Today the big thing is hire a team, build a team. And I got a call from a broker, I won't say where it is because some of you will know it, and the broker said that one of his agents on day one just got his license, had never sold real estate before, announced to the entire office the first thing he's doing is hiring 4 or 5 buyer's agents to work for him. I don't know if that's AI for adult idiot or what that means, but that doesn't make sense. So, I think AI is probably very important, but remember when Google couldn't be replaced? And then it was replaced by something else that is speedier, and now that's being replaced by something else that's speedier. Pretty soon, we'll be able to walk from here to the other end of the building in a nanosecond based on the way people are talking today.
Well, technology is always advancing, and obviously, when social media came along, it doesn't go away. We just figure out if you can use it as a tool to enhance instead of be your business. I'm going to assume you're going to say the same thing about AI is, if you can use it as a tool to enhance your business, great. But it's also something, and I don't know why this always keeps happening to me, maybe because I'm not the biggest fan of AI, and I think that you still have to really look at what it is telling you. I had asked Chat a little while ago, there was a golf tournament on, and Mike and I thought we recognized where the event was, but they weren't showing us on the television. So I asked ChatGPT, where is this tournament? And it came back and it said it was in Naples, Florida, Napes. It meant Naples. There is no, well, maybe there's a Naples, Florida somewhere, but that's not where it was. And it's always that remembering that it's not perfect, and remember to always check and use it as a tool, not as the answer for everything. So I'm assuming from a mindset point of view, and based on what I know of you for 50 years of the Mike Ferry Organization, you're always going to tell us to just stay focused on doing our job, to talk to people. That is one of the things. AI can do so much, but don't let it replace your communication with people.
That's right. Yep.
Would you agree with that?
I think it's probably the most important part of this whole technology change is you can't have your computer talking to your prospective buyers and sellers. You can do it, but hello, yes, we can show you property. Let's go together. That doesn't work for people.
And as some of you know, some of it is really good already.
Yeah.
But where do you fit into that equation? So never lose that connection with another human being. And I think that is one of the things I've always learned from you is go talk to people. We love to text. We love to email. We will post on social media. And you'll still say to us,
go prospect and talk to people.
So with that being said, if there was one piece of advice you could give all of us for 2026, what would it be?
I would say that the market is not going to be controlled by you. Your production is going to be controlled by you. So pay attention to what you do each day. Is it productivity oriented, or is it taking care of the transactions you have oriented? Spend 75 to 80% of your time creating and 20% taking care of. And if you do that, no matter what your goal is, you're going to be great.
Did you notice there was no percentage for drama and getting involved in things that you can't control? What you can control, as Mike just said, is talking to people every day. You can control your business. The market doesn't control you. You control your business.
That's right.
So let's all make a commitment to making 2026 our most drama-free year. Mike's looking at me going, yeah, try that one, Sabrina.
Yeah. And if you do that well, let's have a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah for those that are celebrating that, and all the other forms of celebration. Enjoy it, be safe, be fun, be kind, and be giving.
I like the last two. Be kind, be giving. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.
Nice to see you.
Bye.